WoW Killer is a production of amove.tv. Check out Amove TV for many more podcasts, multiple about Blizzard games. And for more of Taliesin's WoW coverage, check out Taliesin and Evitel on YouTube and twitch.tv. Greetings and welcome back, everyone, and more importantly, Happy New Year. This is WoW Killer. I'm Garrett.
What are you talking about? Happy New Year? Do you know what date it is, Garrett? Do you know it's not New Year?
Enough.
You know it's not. No, it's not. Like, what are you even talking about? Happy New Year? We've just had Christmas. Oh, except you can't say Christmas anymore, can you? You can't even say it. We just had Christmas. That's what you should be wishing people happy. And it's not. It's nowhere near New Year. We're in that beautiful.
Don't you war on Christmas, me?
We're in that beautiful.
I live in the United States of America, where we invented the war on Christmas. Okay, all right. Don't you try and mansplain the war on Christmas to me, Taliesin. This is where it's manufactured.
I mean, that's definitely true. This time, this time in between Christmas and New Year, which we're in right now, where we still eat turkey, we still wear scarves and Christmas clothes and pajamas quite a lot. Do you know what I call it? And you're never really quite sure what day it is. I call it the Smelly Bridge.
The Smelly Bridge.
Smelly Bridge.
Why?
It's like the bridge between Christmas and New Year, and it's smelly because you don't really wash and you eat lots of cheese. And pickled onions.
I mean, it sounds like if you're eating that many pickled onions, you should probably wash a little. You should probably make a concerted effort to wash a little bit more.
I'm getting some insights into Garrett's life here, which I'm not sure I approve of. Like, what? Sorry, I've eaten so many pickled onions, I'm going to need a shower. How do you eat pickled onions, Garrett? Do you get them in your mouth, or do you just wash them over your head? Oh, all those pickled onions that I poured all over myself. Now I'm going to have to shower. And everyone's like, yeah, Garrett, one day you're going to have to learn how to eat those things.
You clearly live somewhere colder than me, because if I eat a bunch of pickled product and start to sweat, it stinks a little more than usual.
Right, okay. I mean, my breath does, but that can be nullified by simply brushing my teeth, or frankly, not bothering, because who am I going to see? We're in a tier 12 lockdown here in London right now. We're not allowed out to piss. It's as simple as that. We are locked down. That's why you're lucky I'm not wearing a tuxedo right now, because I have to make a real effort to even do anything in the days now. I have to dress up in my best clothes and put on perfume and stuff and really make an effort, because I can't go out and make an effort, so I have to make an effort in my own home. And
we're at a historical point for married people, because the old adage is like, you're married, who you trying to impress? You let yourself go. But no, you are stuck in the same place as your spouse 24/7. You need to try harder.
Well, luckily for me, my wife is so perpetually unimpressed by me, just as a default, that I'm in the habit of trying to impress her all the time.
We found
it's difficult. It's difficult because now I've got a baby who, frankly, is really easy to impress. So I've got my wife who needs attention and love and understanding and things like that. I got my baby. I just make a funny face, and that dude is cackling. That dude thinks I'm the funniest guy on. I'm just pulling a little face, and he's all like, "Oh, Dad, you're so funny, and all your WoW theories are correct." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know it, Annie. I know."
I mean, I've watched your YouTube channel, Taliesin, and that's also your same strategy for making YouTube videos.
It's a fact, and it's worked pretty well so far. Yeah. It's also how I make thumbnails for this show. Just so you know.
Fair.
I know. I'm sure anyone who's ever seen our show or knows anything about our channel and the people involved in our channel are all incredibly sympathetic and feel very, very sorry for me that I have to be locked in a house with Evitel all day, every day. It's so difficult. It's so hard. It's like, when I went to Florence, well, you don't, I'm going to tell you. I went to Florence, right, once, and Florence is one of the most beautiful cities on earth, but it's almost like, it's almost like painfully beautiful. It's like, I found this in the Alhambra as well in Spain. It's so beautiful that it's actually tiring. It's actually exhausting, because everywhere you look, there's such exquisite kind of detail and refinement and just beauty that like it genuinely wears you out and tires you out. And it's the same living with Evitel. It's why I sleep so much. It's a fact, you know. I'm sure you get the same living in Florida.
I mean, we're the geographical combination of the Swamp of Sorrows and Booty Bay. But yeah, sure. I actually love my state, but no, it is not. It is not so beautiful that it's tiring because I am not a millionaire, so I don't get to live on the beach 24/7.
Ah, right. I see. But a beach is at least like an open, like, you know, I live near a beach some of the time as well, and like, you know. Well, I grew up by a beach, and yeah, it's beautiful, but it's like an open expanse. Like the thing about Florence or the Alhambra or something is that it's so like densely packed, and like you can't even look around. Everywhere you look, it's just like in your face, just obscene beauty, and it's shattering. Much like World of Warcraft, which is why I can only play it for a little bit at a time because I'm like, this is.
I mean, I did pick Ardenweald as my Night Fae as my covenant, so that is my daily experience.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's just so beautiful. I'm bored.
Honestly, I think that Ardenweald is probably the zone that I've spent the least time in overall since the game went live, and I don't know why actually, but to the extent where every time I go there, I'm bowled over. Is that your favorite zone to be in? Is that your favorite zone to quest around so far?
Yeah. It's just I've got a soft spot for forests as someone who back in 2005 first logged in to Teldrassil. That was the first place I ever stepped virtual foot in World of Warcraft. So I've got a real it hits me right in the night elf heart.
Yeah.
You know, pretty high fantasy forests. I've just got a soft spot for it, and this is just to a degree I didn't think that they could push high fantasy forests. So yeah, I think I would give my favorite zone to Ardenweald. On top of the fact that I've just been spending so much time there that it kind of feels like my virtual home in the Shadowlands.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Revendreth, but it's so inconvenient to move around that zone that I went a full week without going to Revendreth. I was like, is there an armor upgrade? No, I'm not going. It's such it's like Revendreth is the World of Warcraft equivalent of Los Angeles highways. That's what it feels like. I feel like I'm stuck in traffic except instead of being stuck in traffic, I'm waiting for an elevator that inexplicably takes 5 minutes to lower to me.
Fair. Honestly, the zone that I enjoy questing around the most is Bastion. I love that shit. I think it's so great.
Bastion's the most convenient because that Bastion's like Florida. There's almost no elevation change.
Yeah, it's true.
It's all flat.
I love it.
With the exception of the one big floating platform.
But also because it's just stunningly beautiful. And I think it's got some of the best designed like views and vistas and like some of the best planned kind of you know, there'll be a point where I'm running along like a little path in Bastion and I'll be going down like the edge of a ravine or something. And like, yeah, they've thought to build a path there with like a viewing platform and stuff to see the cool books all floating up in the air and stuff like that. And it just feels like the best. It feels like people arrived in this landscape and built on it with the landscape in mind, which video game worlds don't often feel like. They often feel like the buildings and the settlements and things were designed at the same time as the landscape, because they are always. So like, you know, really good game design and geographical game design always feels like the landscape was there first and people kind of arrived there and built on it as they would have done had they arrived there. And they went, okay, well, look, there's this thing over here. We want to build something so we can look at it, obviously. And like, we're going to need a path down to the river here. And like, and it's amazing how difficult that must be to do, judging by the fact that so many video games don't quite manage it or sometimes just flat out miss it completely. And for me, Ardenweald really gets that. Not Ardenweald, sorry, Bastion really gets that, and yeah, it just feels great.
Bastion, like it's to me, it's the equivalent of like your favorite song on an album where like the first time you heard it, you like hated it. You're like, this is so not it. But then like months of living with that album, you're like, oh man, it's so different and wonderful and nuanced. And because the first time I saw Bastion, and then also at BlizzCon played the demo, I was just like, it's just like somebody watched that opening scene from Gladiator too many times and they just had a hard on for wheat. They just wanted wheat fields. They were just too into it. But having it in the live game and having spent a lot longer time with it in a permanent setting, not in a testing environment. Yeah, Bastion's really grown on me, man. There's some subtle art cues in there that really sing and really work.
Shout out as well to like the weather change effects in Shadowlands, because it was apparent after just the slightest bit of alpha testing that there's no day and night in the Shadowlands. I remember tweeting it out, and Steve Noosa like, yeah, there is no day and night in the Shadowlands, obviously, noob. I was like, okay, it's a bit weird though, because we're so used to kind of time change and day and night cycles and weather changes as well. And actually, it's amazing how much variety they managed to find in that. Like, every zone has at least one kind of alternative weather state that it kind of goes into. Bastion has like the weird like angel snow. Have you seen that? It's like glowy angel snow. The sky just goes a bit pinker and everything gets a bit more like hazy, and you get this angel snow that comes down, and it's amazing. And then in Ardenweald, you've got the angel, the star rain, which is like shooting stars just coming down. And at first you think you're getting ganked by a balance druid, and then you're like, oh no, it's just weather. This is amazing. This is fantastic. Maldraxxus has like, it goes dark and it goes kind of like Batman Forever. Where Robin in Batman Forever, he goes off adventuring on his own. He comes up against that gang, and they're all like,
Oh, the gang of blacklight paint.
Yeah, the blacklight gang. Yeah. And it's a bit like
they
that.
had
Everything
too
goes
many
dark,
mushroom
a bit more
posters
luminous.
on their bedroom walls.
Yeah. And then he rescues this girl, and she's like, "Wait, you didn't kiss the girl." I hate that movie, and I don't. I love it, and you get the souls just flying in the air. It's really awesome, like kind of One Sandy style, just in the air there. And Revendreth is Blood Rain, which is amazing.
Yep,
it's really cool.
Who doesn't love a good Blood Rain?
Well, Slayer certainly do. That's for sure. I made a heavy metal joke. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. That's the end of that.
What's your favorite? Wait. What's your favorite? What's your favorite weather state in Shadowlands? Maybe we should call the episode that. What's your favorite? And we can be done.
We're just going to sit here talking about weather
effects. If we make
effects.
this the topic, we can be done. We've already talked about it. We just need your judgment, and we can finish. We can go home.
I do rather like the angel snow.
Yeah, I like the angel snow too. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of WoW Killer.
Slow falling or floating particle effects in video games, it just works. It works in movies too. It does. It's really good at selling atmospheric perspective. This is why everyone lost their mind the first time they watched Avatar in the theater with 3D glasses. Because they had so many of those damn little floaty, glowing particles that it was just a feast for the eyes, and it just really sold the depth of everything going on in that movie.
I saw it in 3D, and I came out of that cinema saying, "Wow, that was a lot of CGI."
And then I watched it at home, and I was like, it's okay.
I mean, I never thought Avatar looked good, in fairness, but like that's because I've got a very low tolerance for CGI. I dislike it a lot.
I really liked the first time I watched it, but I do remember thinking, I don't know about the stylization. This kind of looks like low-rent Night Elf cosplay.
Mind you, I thought that about Dragon Prince, and it was brilliant.
We've had this conversation, but I just hate the way that show looks.
So great. I love it. I just started rewatching it yesterday.
Anyway, I love the characters. I love the writing.
I can see why people didn't like the first season.
Because
there is not enough frames in that animation. I completely agree.
Yeah. But the backgrounds look like WoW screenshots.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
Fair. One man's negative is another man's positive.
They just went, hey, let's take our other show, Avatar, which is the good Avatar, not the shit Avatar that Taliesin and Garrett were just talking about. Let's take all of the lore from Avatar and like all of the aesthetic from WoW, and that's our show. And it's like, yeah, sure, cool, sounds good. Sounds awesome. Let's make it happen.
You know what? Yep.
And it was awesome. I'm glad it
finished Dragon Prince. I'm going to finish Dragon Prince. Yeah. So anyways, Taliesin, we did actually, despite the opening 15 minutes being about our favorite weather effects, we did come with a topic prepared for this episode.
Yeah, although I say we just swap it to weather effects because we're done. That was brilliant.
I mean, we're not, because then I could get into the history of the blood rain. Do you know when in World of Warcraft the first time we ever saw blood rain down from the sky was?
No.
It was the opening of the original Death Knight starting area.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it blew my mind. And I was really mad because I was gaming on a MacBook Pro at the time and it couldn't do those effects. That effect was not an option on my MacBook. And then I went over into my roommate's room and it was raining blood. And I was like, this is amazing. I need a PC and I need it now. And that's what made me go and build my first gaming PC.
Wow, awesome. A happy story with a happy ending.
Oh, it's also because I melted my graphics card on my MacBook Pro from raiding in Wrath of the Lich King. It got hot enough that the solder reliquefied.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just do what I do and throw some water over it. Sorry. Create a closed loop.
Oh, what I did was build a superior gaming machine and never went back to Mac. That's what I did. Yeah,
of course. Like if you're serious about gaming, that's what you've got to do. Green Arrow is pointing out quite rightly that Emberfall in Revendreth also has like the kind of ash fire rain, which is brilliant. That's even better.
Yeah. That is
it's better than the Blood Rain, that's for sure.
You know how I make fun of like Mechagon and Broken Shore as like the generic dirt islands of Legion and BFA? One of my buddies who leveled faster than me in Shadowlands texted me, and I'm assuming it had to have been Emberfall, because he's just like, hey, if you're not to Revendreth yet, there's an area that's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about generic dirt areas. But I actually really like it. I like the story of why it looks the way it looks, and also those
when stuff like that's tied into narrative, it makes a big difference. And that brings us to our topic, because the reason I was actually thinking of zones to quest through and like the weather effects and things like that, and Ember Ward is, I brought it up, but it's funny you should bring it up, because I was in there today doing my Bastion campaign. Okay, so my main character in Shadowlands is my priest. That's who I raid with my raid team, and it'd be my long time main since forever. And she went Revendreth because she is a discipline priest, and you got to go Revendreth, and that's good because I quite fancy going Revendreth anyway, and that's fantastic. But obviously, I have characters in every Covenant because I want to see all them Covenant campaigns, though, with all the story and stuff. New chapter every week, and I'm a bit behind on some of them. And one of the ones I'm a bit behind on is my Paladin, who, of course, is in Bastion. And I had, 3 weeks worth of Covenant campaign to catch up on that guy when I logged in today. And I managed to catch up on 2. So it's reset day here in the EU today. So there's a new chapter again today, which I haven't done yet. But the story in Bastion is coming on really nicely. It's really cool. And I did the chapter where you have to go to Revendreth to get something that maybe we'll talk about later on. But it took you to the Ember Ward. And I'd actually noticed this last time in some of the questing that I'd done on my main and other characters as well, is that Revendreth is obviously, it being where my main is, the zone that I probably know better than any other. I got my teleportation network set up there. I go over there doing my dailies with the anima conductor and things. I run around there a lot. I actually just walk from my Covenant hall to the raid because it's a straight line. It's really good. Just a little bit across the map and stuff like that. And so it's a zone that I know really, really well. And yet this Covenant campaign quest for Bastion sent me to the Ember Ward, which obviously I've been to loads of times, because I quest through it every time I level for a start, a new character. And yet it sent me to a part of the Ember Ward, and I was running up a little road that I'd never been to before. And I was following my little guy who was leading me on this quest, and it took me up to a part that I'd never been to before. And then it sent me to another part of Revendreth that I'd never been to before. And I was like, this is really interesting, because these are really well-designed, really cool, tiny little areas that I've never really seen before. And it's so funny that this Bastion quest should send me there rather than I kind of found it on my Revendreth main. And it got me thinking, how much of Shadowlands and the zones and the storylines we have been learning since the game actually released. Because obviously the game released, we did all our questing and things like that. And, we thought we had a good handle on the storyline of Shadowlands and ready to go into the raid. We'd done our questing campaigns and we'd seen like the cinematics attached to that and what have you. And I thought it'd be fun to talk now in our final show of 2020. That's the year for you. Before we go into 2021.
For a second.
I thought it'd be good to chat about where we are in the story now, having played it for 6 weeks or so. And furthermore, as new things kind of get revealed, and we've had a new thing with the reset this week as well, in Torghast, as that kind of story unfolds, importantly, where the story might be going next. Because you know what I wanted, and what I said on this show multiple times was, what I wanted at the end of 9.0 and at the end of the raid was a very clear hook and a very clear indication of where the story was going to be going next for 9.1.
And as someone who finally got through the raid, do you feel that we've gotten a hook? Because I have a hard yes or no on that.
Yeah, I've got a hard no on that. There's no hook.
Same.
There's nothing.
Yeah, no,
there's
there isn't.
Like zero. Like, I mean, it's intriguing what happens at the end of the raid. And 30-second spoiler bot up, right? Because I feel like we should just say, because it's
starting in 3.
And bear in mind, this
1.
doesn't reveal anything that's coming up. It's literally just the ending of the raid. So Sidanathrius is not killed. He just kind of goes, ugh, and gets sucked into his sword. And by the way, the interplay between Denathrius and his sword is my favorite relationship in Shadowlands. Maybe my favorite relationship in WoW. The relationship between Denathrius and his sword is wonderful.
It's a thinly veiled masturbation relationship. Let's just be honest.
They're going to splatter all over your walls
at the end, because as he's sucked into the sword, his cape is left behind. So Denathrius is now inside his own sword, completely naked.
Oh gosh, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Ramonia.
It's canon.
Ramonia, sorry. Yeah, that's right. So he's inside Ramonia now, which I'm sure she's very happy about. I'm sure we're all very happy about.
Now,
wow. Okay.
Now it got weird.
Listen.
Now it got weirder.
Okay. Look, Denathrius has always been a sexy, freaky boy. Okay, that man wears like his shirt very unbuttoned. Okay, he got
has a velvet painting of himself shirtless on the back wall.
He's got it and he's flaunting it. He knows it. I feel like he's a bit like Idris Elba. He's leaving nothing. He doesn't need to leave anything to the imagination, because why would you? And and he's always been a bit freaky.
And yet I can't think of. I'm blanking on Idris Elba ever being shirtless. When I think Idris Elba in a suit, and yet somehow I do think of it as leaving very little to the imagination.
Wait! Are you serious? I thought you were just being sarcastic.
No, I can't think of Idris Elba being shirtless.
Are you actually? I've never seen him not shirtless. What are you even talking about?
I guess the most recent time I've seen him is I'm doing my first ever all the way through watch of The Office, and he's just in a suit, and every time he's on that show.
Idris Elba's in The Office?
Yeah.
The American Office?
The American Office, yeah.
Idris Elba's in The American Office?
He has a full season stint on
The
Office.
No! Yep. I didn't know that. I never watched that trash. I watched the UK version. That was good enough for me. It should be good enough for you as well.
He's fantastic in it, too.
Wow, of course he is. He's amazing. Yeah. He's fantastic in everything,
yeah.
except something I watched on the BBC the other day, because I had to click on it. We were looking for something to watch on like Netflix or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, Evitel, you're gonna like this. I can't not click on this, right?" And I clicked on it, and she didn't see what I clicked on until it actually came up, and it was Idris Elba interviews Paul McCartney.
I'm not
and actually, it's funny you should mention that he used to be on The Office, because I couldn't watch it. It was the most cringe thing. I like. Listen, I like a bit of cringe. This was too cringe. It was too much. Idris, he got COVID quite early on. I don't think he's really recovered from it yet. And he goes and he interviews Paul McCartney in like Somerset House, I think, somewhere in like central London. And he turns up, and they've got this beautiful set, and he's I love Idris, right? He's the best, and I love Paul McCartney as well. But Idris Elba was like doing what Idris Elba shouldn't be allowed to interview anyone, because Idris Elba can only really talk about Idris Elba, and he does it very well. And if I was Idris Elba, that's what I'd do as well. But when you're interviewing Paul McCartney, that's not enough. And he was there like, yeah, so for your new album, you wrote it in lockdown, right? And he was like, yeah, I wrote it in lockdown. I recorded it in lockdown. I did all the drums and the guitars and the keyboards and stuff, just like I always do. And Idris was like, yeah, okay. I do a bit of keys and I do a bit of drums. I love drumming. And, in lockdown, when I had COVID and stuff, I thought I'd learn how to play guitar because I never learned how to play guitar before. And I learned guitar, and I've actually got it with me right now. And, do you want to hear me play my guitar? And Paul McCartney's like,
oh no.
Okay.
Oh no.
I guess.
Idris Elba's that guy at the party that brings a guitar.
You don't go to interview Paul McCartney and then go, oh, by the way, I literally just learned how to play guitar, and I'm pretty sure you'd want to hear me play guitar, right? And he went over to get his guitar, and that's when I had to turn it off. I was like, I can't watch Idris Elba interviewing Paul McCartney, getting his guitar out that he's just learned to play. I was like, and it was like The Office. It was like the training episode in The Office, which I think is the first one in the US version of The Office, where they have the training day, and David Brent gets out his guitar. And just starts playing. I was like, this is too much like The Office. I can't do it. I can't watch Idris Elba whip out his guitar, which he's just learned to play, in front of Paul McCartney, when he's supposed to be interviewing Paul McCartney about Paul McCartney's new album. And just be like, this is exactly what Paul McCartney's going to want right now. He's going to want to see me, a man who's just learned how to play guitar. Because, that's not something Paul McCartney's very good at. He'll probably be very interested in that.
I hope what we've accomplished during that is just completely bore the image of Idris Elba cast as Sire Denathrius into our listeners' heads.
Also, I'm pretty sure that he would have taken off his shirt before he started playing, and that would have kept me watching, but the cringe was too much. But you're right. If there is a movie of Shadowlands, Idris Elba should definitely play Sire Denathrius, as well as every other part. But what we're talking about,
so back to where somehow we got off into Idris Elba is that the end of Castle Nathria? Why does that sound wrong in my head? Doesn't matter. It kind of ties a bow on itself and does not link.
Which was my worst fear.
It does not. It actually, as someone who tends to not like cliffhangers, I was expecting a bit more of a cliffhanger. There's nothing. It just kind of feels like, okay, cool, we've wrapped up this threat. This threat has been taken care of.
Yeah, and you know me, and you know this show. I was a firm advocate that I wanted some kind of very explicit pointer towards where we were going next in 9.1, because I believe that makes for a more satisfying patch experience for the patch that you're in, when you have a very clear kind of indicator of where we're going next. I think the best patches work that way. So really, the only thing we've got is the Covenant campaigns. I'm not really sure that's going to give us much either, but I am thoroughly enjoying the Covenant campaigns at the moment.
I know you're trying to keep up with all of your alts and see all of the Covenant campaigns. I haven't been. I've just started scratching the surface over on my Death Knight of Maldraxxus, Necrolords. I keep using the zone name and place for the Covenant name. Just that's me. Just you know what I'm talking about. But I've been just focusing on my warrior, on my main. So I have only seen really the Night Fae side of things. So I don't know, because I'm getting Legion flashbacks, which you and I have talked a lot about, the kind of the links between the class order hall campaigns and the Covenant campaigns. And while I would certainly look at 4 Covenants instead of however many classes we were up to in Legion as being a lot easier to see all of those stories. I also still kind of have this peaceful feeling that I had during Legion, which is, well, there's no way I'm going to see all of this. So I'm going to make peace with that and accept it and just play the game the way I want to play it. So how are you feeling about it? I mean, as someone who has almost seen everything except for apparently
the odd Kyrian here and there, the
Kyrian campaign. Is it working? Do you feel like a good story, a good thread is being woven?
So I feel like I love the system, I love the idea, and I love most of the implementation of having the Covenant campaigns. But that kind of thing is right up my alley anyway, because it's kind of like a happy medium of one of the really fun things about Suramar, which was that like this dense max level kind of questing and storyline. Like it felt really unusual in Legion to get to max level and then still have like all of this story content that you had to go through to unlock and to get past. And the bad stuff about Suramar was the way it was gated by rep, which meant you had to go out and just like do world quests to be able to unlock certain bits and what have you. And I think the renown system is a lot more elegant. I know some people would be frustrated about like the weekly kind of gate on renown, which is its own sort of thing, but at least it's not, you're not gated by effort so much. It's a story which is unfolding. You just need to do your 2 renown quests a week to keep up with it, and then you do the quest, and the quests are substantial. When I'm settling down to I do them off stream because I like to record them for footage and stuff, and I like to get through them as efficiently as possible, which I can't do on stream. And each one takes like 45 minutes per chapter and what have you, which isn't loads, but I mean, it's on top of everything else that you're doing in a week.
It's a chunk, yeah. Especially like come Tuesday, it's like, oh, all right, there's so much to do. I gotta check in. It really feels in a way that I would say this is not negative. It feels like maintenance, like. I don't know if you're the type of person that likes really like cleaning up your PC, like, oh, it's so dusty, it's time to get in there and maybe clean up some wires and dust it out and get out my microfiber cloth and polish it. Like, I get into that kind of thing, and that's kind of how I feel every Tuesday on World of Warcraft. It's like, ooh, I'm gonna plan out my day. First, I'm gonna stop by, or actually, no. First, I'm gonna kill the world boss so that whatever drops off of it, or in my case, what doesn't drop off of it, informs what I choose out of the vault. And I love that. I love that Tuesday maintenance, getting in, doing all of my things. But yeah, knowing that there's another 45 minutes to an hour of Covenant quests, I'm just like, oh man,
so,
I got a lot to do.
Do you know what people are saying this week with regards to the vault? People are saying, hey, Tally, don't forget to do your 5 time walking dungeons before you open your Great Vault. And I say, fuck off, mate.
Yeah. Also, I've been so unlucky in loot, it doesn't matter.
As if I'm going to do 5 like time walking dungeons before I open my Great Vault. As if there's like all this beautiful loot waiting for me in the Great Vault, and I'm gonna go, no. Put a cork in that one. I've got some time walking dungeons to do.
I did 2 yesterday, and I was like, nope. I'm not going to be able to wait. I'm going to the vault right now and getting apparently a best in slot trinket. It felt pretty good.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, the time walking loot is bugged at the moment anyway. Like, it's maxing out at 200, which is less than it should be. But frankly, if you're stupid enough to do 5, it used to be 4, now it's 5 time walking dungeons before you open your Great Vault, you deserve that. You deserve to have it bugged.
It's a lot. I really like how they've done Renown, and that it's not this big grindy thing. It's like, oh, sorry, your reputation with your Covenant isn't high enough. You can't get to I love it. Just, are you playing? Are you logging in every week? Cool. You're keeping up with Renown.
I think it's great.
I will say, I think some of the weeks have been longer than others. And especially with the Night Fae, I feel like they kind of front loaded with some really awesome story quests, and like the last 3 weeks has just really felt to me like treading water.
I feel like in Ardenweald, like the thing that's been going on the last 3 weeks in Ardenweald has been a really good story, but like the story with because it's all the old the first Night Warrior stuff, isn't it, and all that.
Yeah. Like I would call this a mild spoiler for Night Fae stuff, but. I would imagine most listeners are keeping up with this type of stuff. But yeah, you go and find the original Night Warrior, and there's some cool character bits in there, but it does not move the story needle.
Yeah, in terms of story, it could have fitted into 1 or 2 weeks rather than being spread out over 3. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I do everything. The last 3 weeks, I feel like they could have given me all of that in a single sitting. And
totally. And that brings me to like, the other side of it. I love the system, and I love the dense story that is unfolding every week. And I think max level story unlocks and questing and stuff. Like, I loved it in Suramar. I love it now in the Covenants. I love the rewards that you get from it as well, which is just another little bit on your Renown, which is going to give you something else on your Renown tree, but also like you're unlocking the armor set and stuff like that, and like mounts and back pieces, and it's just really great, and I really love it. It's definitely true that some stories are much better than others. Like the Bastion story has been amazing since the day it started. Like the very first
I would have
chapter
to assume it has to be, because the leveling story there is basically non-existent.
But it's so good though, Garrett. It's so good. and also kind of ties together a lot of what people have been saying about the Kyrian as well, and this idea that I've had arguments with people on the stream that everyone wants to see the Kyrian as these really bad, shifty guys, because they wipe your memories, and if you choose to go through that process, and you lose all your memories, except they don't. They put them in a big library, and we're so desperate to see, that contrary kind of video game person thing. Like, we're also desperate to see the Forsworn as goodies, even though they're like killing people and teaming up with a jailer and breaking stuff and just obviously being evil. And that means we have to see the Kyrians as baddies, right? So the Kyrian Covenant campaign is very much about them. If you've done Spires of Ascension, there's a moment at the end where the Archon is like, well, she really shouldn't have teamed up with the jailer. That was very bad, but maybe we can change the way we do things around here, and
which is
what
kind
have you.
of like that seems like the theme.
Yeah, exactly. And the Covenant campaign is very much
because I definitely fall more on the side of the contrary gamer.
Sure, but that's because
I like my villains when they are sympathetic, and I think the Forsworn are sympathetic. I think the Kyrians are not easy to like. It's not easy to go like, yeah.
Sure. But I
give yourself over to.
I wouldn't say the Forsworn are particularly easy to like.
No, but I
feel like they're clearly coded as flat out baddies, And if even the Afterlife cinematic, where you see why Devos kind of took the path she did, that she ends up teaming up with the jailer, which is contrary to everything that she said that she wanted. She's a massive hypocrite. She's massively contradictory. And the only reason she actually went down that path in the first place, when it comes down to it, is because she was frustrated, because she felt like the Archon wasn't keeping her in the loop or communicating well enough, or being thankful enough or whatever for the information she was bringing her. Which
is someone who's worked under, who does not forget working for minimum wage under shitty managers at restaurants. I sympathize with that greatly.
Yeah. Well, me too, man. And if Devos was having her labor stolen from her, I'd be completely on her side, and I'd say, let's eat the Archon, right? But that's not quite what's going on.
Eat the Archon.
It would be like...
It's my favorite Motorhead song.
It would be like me going, I feel like my boss is stealing my labor from me, and therefore I'm gonna go and work for Amazon or McDonald's or something instead, because that'll be better. Teaming up with a jailer.
That's a great way to put it.
Clearly not the answer. And
as we sit here covering a game made by a multi-billion-dollar corporation
on Twitch, which is owned by Amazon. Yeah, I know.
Owned by Amazon, yeah.
And don't worry, we'll put the VOD up on YouTube later, which is owned by Microsoft.
Enjoy that expensive scotch on that scotch, Bezos. That's on me. Enjoy.
Yeah. And the Devos, the Archon never said they were ignoring the information that was brought to her, never said they didn't believe it, never said they weren't going to act on it. It was just like, nice one, Devos, thanks for bringing that to us. You go and carry on with doing your important work and leave this with us. And she was like, oh, how dare they? I'm going to go and join the jailer. And didn't even tell Uther. Uther still doesn't know that they're working with the jailer. He's like the third most important Forsworn, and he doesn't know they're working with the jailer. So there's obvious deceit going on there. They're clearly baddies who need to be saved. But yeah, there is a thing where clearly the Kyrian could do with learning some lessons, and their Covenant campaign generally is them doing that. They go, without any spoilers, they go to each of the last 3 weeks has seen them go to a different Covenant and retrieve something from that Covenant, which has kind of changed the way they think about stuff a little bit. To kind of rebuild
this week is particularly good. I've seen a lot of Kyrian pledges on Twitter, losing their mind over their quest this week.
Yeah. Oh, people are being idiots in the chat. YouTube's owned by Google. It doesn't really matter to the sake of the story.
But if this is the internet, Taliesin.
Sorry, guys, you're right. YouTube is not owned by the big corporation Microsoft. It's owned by the big corporation Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. That does, in fairness, completely change
Save
what I
your
was talking
emails.
about. And now what I said makes no sense. I take it all back, and I'm really sorry. You got
now
me.
that we pulled
You
that
got
e-break.
me. So like, and you know, it's really interesting. There's a really good bit when the Kyrian went to Revendreth, where they have to retreat. Like, they need to get something, and the way that they're teaming up with people in Revendreth, and someone's like, well, okay, the curator knows where the thing we're looking for is. So what we need to do is to have some leverage over her. We have to get her sin stone, which has all her past sins on her, and that's going to work really well as leverage. You know, she's got a secret on her sin stone that we can like threaten to reveal, and then she'll tell us where this thing is that we're looking for. And as you're doing that, you know, the Kyrian that you're with are like, wow, imagine being held hostage over the sins that you committed in your past life, like we're about to do with this character. That's why we cleanse ourselves of it, is so that we're not dragged down by it. And it's an interesting kind of insight into like what a lot of people really want to label as this mindlessness of the Kyrian. And that they're like, no, we choose to unburden ourselves of this. And look, this is the problems that can happen if you don't. You know, we're literally going to use this person's past sins against them. You can't do that with us, and we don't worry about them. We don't, you know, we have a fresh start in the afterlife, and that, like, just little lines like that here and there, which is really interesting. It's cool. It's cool. It's like I really like all that. It's a really interesting insight into what they're doing, and
yeah, it's pulpy high fantasy Warcraft, and they're getting to throw that spin at all of these different takes on how the afterlife can be. And so with the Kyrian, we're seeing this pulpy riff on like Ascension. You know, it's I don't know. These are all very fun playgrounds for them to play around it. So bringing it back into the larger arc of like Shadowlands as a whole, where's your head at on how they've achieved a balance there? Because like clearly we're heading somewhere with the jailer and with Sylvanas, but I'm frankly surprised how little we've seen of them so far. Like, we are probably not as close to a 0.1 patch as I would like to be, but you know, I don't know. I have the sense that like I'm ready for the next big chapter in Shadowlands that isn't Covenant specific. It feels like it's far away, and I really don't know where we're going. Like, I have no sense, and it you know, ties back into the end of Nathria and how kind of compartmentalized the other parts of the story feel with all of the Covenant quests. So where the hell are we going from here?
It's really interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of it might have to do with where these Covenant campaign stories end up, because it is the one thing that I didn't spoil for myself throughout all of it. You know, in my position as someone who like reports on WoW and has an opinion on WoW and plays WoW, and it's literally how I make my money, I don't have much excuse not to spoil myself when it comes to like alpha and beta and stuff. And I have to test the dungeons, I have to test the raids, and I have to do the questing and like test the classes and things like that. And so I see a lot of the game before it's released. And as someone who like enjoys the game as much as a fan as any kind of creation aspect, there's always some things that I, just for myself, I have to keep from being spoiled for myself. And the Covenant campaigns was one of those things. And, you know, I got quite far in the Ardenweald campaign before I just went, I don't need to do this. I can just enjoy this later on. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm just starting to get into the part of some of the campaigns that I haven't seen before. The Ardenweald one is still at a point where I have seen it. I feel like we're going to get a nice, I might be wrong, but I feel like we're going to get a bow on a lot of the Covenant stuff as well, rather than a hook. You know, the Denathrius stuff ended with a bow, and I've got a feeling that the Covenant campaign stuff largely is going to end with a bow as well. You know, like there are clear problems in the Covenants that need sorting, like in the short term. The Kyrian one is particularly obvious. With the fact that their whole Covenant gets busted up in the first chapter, and they just need to fix it and get it ready to fight the Forsworn. Now, whether they actually will fight the Forsworn, by the end of the Covenant campaign and like sort out that problem. I mean, that's definitely going to happen at some point. There's a recolor of their Covenant armor, which is in Forsworn colors, which suggests that at some point they're going to kind of all like defeat the evil and all team up again together. And, you know, like it'll probably be as easy as going, hey, Uther, you know that Lysonia is like teamed up with the jailer and you guys are teamed up with the jailer? And he'll be all like, oh no, I've been such a fool. I let my hatred and pride cloud my judgment. And we'll be like, yeah, Uther, it's cool. Just come back.
Yeah, it's cool. You're gonna have your Vader turn to the light
bring your
side again moment.
Bring the Forsworn with you. So I know people will know the answer to this if they've been following the spoilers and stuff from Alpha, but I don't know. So I'm just kind of assuming here. I don't know if the big fight against the Forsworn will happen as part of the Covenant campaign, or if it's something that is going to be left until 9.1. Similarly, like with Ardenweald, there's a lot of the Night Warrior stuff, and it's very focused around Tyrande. Revendreth is all about regaining all of the Harvester's medallions, and just kind of finding your seat of power there, which is one of the more boring ones, as is Maldraxxus, unfortunately.
Has Revendreth had picked up any more of the Kael'thas threads?
No.
What?
No.
Really?
Nothing.
Really?
Kael'thas
well,
is...
then in that case, Taliesin, I'm not so
so
sure we're going to get a bow
I feel
on
like that
things.
is coming, but I mean, I was expecting it to be much more focused around Kael'thas than it
I mean, we're also
is.
expecting like the Covenant to kind of just go on until the final patches, right? So maybe we'll get, I think we might get
Oh, yeah,
bows
for
in
sure.
stages.
And that's the
Because
genius of the Covenant campaign.
It kind of
is that-
feels like we're heading towards a Tyrande bow and Ardenweald, and we're heading towards the Kyrian have some inner... They need to look inwards to do, and I think we're going to get a bow on that. But then I could see us, moving forward into more, character-driven focuses.
Yeah, and that's the genius of it, is that you've got a system there, much like the Soulbind system, which can
chat room.
Which can so obviously be like expanded upon and added to, and like that's one of the reasons I like the Covenant campaign system so much, is because Renown's going to exist for the rest of the expansion, and it'll be kind of delivered in the same way it is, and you have unique story that can be delivered every single week as a result, for a set amount of weeks every patch, which is what's happening now. So Kael'thas has been in the Revendreth Order Hall. I don't know if it was linked to the raid or if it was linked to where we were in the story, but like we defeated the Kael'thas boss in the raid, and then I noticed that he was in my Covenant Hall, but being kind of like seen to by people. So, and obviously I have read spoilers on that one, so I know that he is in the Covenant campaign this week. I guess they wanted to leave it long enough for everyone to do that fight in the raid before they got started on that one.
Which I have a bad memory for how quickly LFR has rolled out in the past, but this seems slower than hell as far as LFR wings being released.
Yeah, it's every other week for the LFR wings, isn't it?
And we're 3 weeks between.
I've got a feeling it feels slower because if LFR is the only way of doing stuff, you've got the added kind of incentive of beating raid bosses at the moment for the Great Vault.
Which if you don't have a raid group, is hard to do.
Yeah, and you really notice if you're not filling out those Great Vault boxes, Like, when I took time, I didn't play WoW I didn't even log on for 3 days over Christmas, and I was like, I haven't filled out like any of these boxes. I've got like 3 items in my Great Vault this week. It's painful.
I've had a hard time getting groups together for Mythics, so I haven't been checking those boxes, and I really don't ever PvP. So I've only been filling out the raid ones and like nothing else. And to me, honestly, it's not that bad. It feels pretty good to have an option of 3, but there's still a thing in the back of my head going, it would be better. Get a choice of 9.
Yeah.
So.
Totally, exactly. And I this is not what this episode is about, but I think the Great Vault is amazing and I love it. Loads of people don't like it, but they can dick right off because I think the Great Vault is
really
fantastic.
Like it. Yeah, I stand the Great Vault.
Yeah, I stand the Great Vault. I think the Great Vault is fantastic. And there's a lot of chat right now about gearing in Shadowlands and what have you, and how slow it is, and how there's not as many upgrades from Mythic Plus and whatnot as people want. I still stand the Great Vault. I still think it's a superior system, and I'm perfectly happy with the amount of loot that's dropping at the moment. I like that I'm not getting all my loot instantly. I mean, I don't. Obviously, when my loot doesn't drop, I'm like, screw this game, stupid fucking game. But overall, in the way that a video game works, I think it's definitely better, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. And I notice where loot comes from more, and I target specific loot more, and I'm excited when I get my loot more. Yeah. So I don't think that the Covenant campaigns are going to give us a big hook on where the story is going next. I think if that hook exists, I think it exists in Torghast, and I think it exists in the Maw. And I think
we got a nugget this week. We got a little bit of nugget. Did you go save Thrall?
I haven't yet, because I haven't actually had a chance to do anything yet, because it's reset day today, and I had to come on this show with you. So I'm here instead of playing WoW right now. But as soon as this show's over, I'm going to have a poo. I'm going to kiss my boy. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to kiss my boy. I'm going to put some pants on. I'm going to start streaming, and then we'll go and do all of this stuff, and I'll go and have a look.
Well, I know you're already spoiled on this.
Well, yeah, exactly. And actually, there are more nuggets to come in Torghast as well, which we won't spoil at all. But this one is technically in the game, so go wild.
Yeah, so because we haven't seen a lot of Sylvanas and the Jailer. Like, it's weird. This almost feels like old school World of Warcraft to me, back in like the Burning Crusade days, when they were like, Illidan's the big bad. You just will never see him until the final raid.
You say old school. They did it in BFA as well. Like, the build up to BFA was all like, for the Horde with Sylvanas and for the Alliance with Anduin, and then you got loads of them in the pre-patch, and then you didn't see Anduin or Sylvanas at all during leveling or the rest of the patch. Yeah.
I mean, granted, there's definitely like the shadow of the Jailer hanging over this whole thing, especially like when you're hanging out in the Maw, but we just don't have a lot of interaction with him or lines delivered. So this week, and mild spoilers for probably the next, 5 minutes or so, we get a quest to go save Thrall from Torghast. They've been doling out this go save the named hero that every so often, and this week it's finally Thrall, so we go and save him. But we get a very short, like, in-game cutscene. Like, it's not one of the like kind of pre-rendered nice looking ones. It's kind of stilted in-game models, but between the Jailer and Sylvanas, that delivers, I think, like something like 5 sentences of dialogue. But the Jailer is talking about the fact that they now have their weapon and it's time to hone it.
Wait, are we still talking about Denathrius here? What's going on?
Sorry, what was that?
I made a sex joke about Denathrius. Sorry, that's all.
Weapon.
That's all it takes. Sorry. Do you want to read us the lines for this cinematic? Because I made this cutscene, because I saw it in beta, and it's always like when it was gonna pop up. Yeah. But this gives us our strongest clue yet.
This is literally the Jailer and Sylvanas doing like an Aaron Sorkin walk and talk. They are walking through the halls of Torghast and delivering lines of dialogue. The Jailer says that. I'm not doing voices for this, by the way. The Jailer says, all that matters is we now possess the necessary instrument. We must begin its preparation. And Sylvanas replies, leave it to me. You've seen what he is capable of when he believes in the cause. A measure of patience may yield superior results. And then the Jailer says, very well, we have our weapon. Now we shall hone it. And so, Jailer talking about a soul or person as an instrument, and Sylvanas, saying he. So who is the he that Sylvanas is talking about?
And this plays after you rescue Thrall, right?
This is actually before you rescue Thrall.
Oh. But it's probably not Thrall. I think it's fair to say.
Probably not Thrall, because, spoiler alert, we do successfully get Thrall the hell out of Torghast.
Just before we answer this question with its very obvious answer, I'd just like to say that the last rescue a famous character from Torghast that we did with Jaina, I thought was brilliant. I thought it was really, really good. The way that you kind of you went up in Torghast, and like gradually you started noticing that there was ice in various parts of Torghast, and like some walls were just like literally covered with ice, and like it just gradually got more icy as you got to the room where Jaina was, and then it was just her being tortured and ice blocking, and I just thought I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really, really good. And I think she even killed the boss at the end as well.
And also it's I think it's the first time we see that lava room in Torghast, because I don't think that wing had been one of the weekly wings yet.
Yeah, true. And I might be misremembering it, but in my head, she un-ice blocks and kills the boss at the end as well.
She does. No,
she gets the killing blow, which I think is really cool, like really awesome.
There's a noteworthy lore bit in how Thrall escapes and helps you.
Interesting. I look forward to it. Does he just like hit him with a crossbow? Is he like just whacking him with a crossbow? Like,
that'd be so good. Oh, that'd be so. Oh my god! For the love of, as someone who's dusting off my alts, can we skip the Maw? Can we skip? If I gotta listen to Thrall bitch about the weapons I'm giving him one more time.
Honestly, if you gave me the choice between being able to skip the Maw or being able to skip all the talking in Oribos, if you're going to do the storyline and not Threads of Fate, I'd skip the Oribos. Honestly, I'd happily go through the Maw every time if I could skip all the talking in Oribos. Because at least I'm pressing
how about a
buttons.
world where we just skip both? Because who the hell needs to do any of that? We've already seen it.
Fair enough. Good point. But I'd happily skip Oribos over the Maw if it came down to it.
You don't want to listen to this voice anymore? Talking to you? All gently. I'll do an entire episode.
My favourite is the bit where you have to follow the Alan Rickman guy to the portal to get to Ardenweald, and he's like, "Yes, come with me." And then like goes slower than any character in the history of the world. And you know where the portal is, so you go to the portal up to the other floor, but you have to talk to him when he's standing next to the portal before you use the portal, otherwise the quest doesn't carry on. So you have to go back there. Oh god, every time I stab myself in the eye with a fork, and now I can't see because I've done it too many times. And all my forks have got eye on them. It's terrible. Hate it. Anyway, so yeah, the answer to the question is, I think even at this point, it would be fair to assume that the jailer and Sylvanas are talking about Anduin. Do you agree?
I think because of the quest that we're on, that we're going to save one of the main named captured heroes, that makes a lot of sense. That by process of elimination, Anduin makes a lot of sense. I do, however, like the first place my brain went was Arthas. Like,
yeah, well, I was going to say, who else could it be? And Arthas. I was like,
where's Arthas? Which we could do. Remind me, a future episode should just be, my God, they actually haven't played with pulling famous dead people all that much at all, because they really haven't. Like, Jesus, there's such I think a weird lack of famous dead faces from Warcraft, but I don't want to get into that now. So, but my brain did go to Arthas or Nathanos. Like, there's other places it could go, and it sure does seem like Sylvanas saying like, "Oh, you see what he's capable of when he believes in a cause." Like, I feel like, "Oh, Nathanos, that makes sense." But we're on a quest to go save Thrall, and so now that Thrall's been extricated, the only one left is Anduin.
Yeah.
It makes sense, like thematically, like all signs point to Anduin.
I like the idea that it could be Arthas. I mean, it's definitely not, but I like the idea it could be, because it implies, with them saying that now we have the weapon and stuff, it implies that they've only just noticed Arthas is there. It implies that, like, years ago, Uther threw Arthas into the Maw, and the jailers only just noticed. He's like, "Oh, who's this guy? Oh, shit, it's the Lich King. Awesome."
Well, the Maw is a big place. He could have been lost. They've made it. They've time and time again, like, everyone we get out of Torghast, they're like, "I don't know how long it's been. Days feel like years, and years feel like hours." And, like, they've really gone out of their way to be like, time makes no sense, so that story can unravel in convenient ways that we would like it to unravel in. Like they've given themselves that MacGuffin to fall back on. But Sylvanas wouldn't talk about Arthas this calmly.
Okay. So I agree. I think it's Anduin. There is another nugget that comes up later on in Torghast, which is a full-blown cinematic, which doesn't really give away much either, but kind of confirms that as well.
Yes. It's straight up confirmed.
Yeah, and this was data mined when the day Shadowlands went live, because it's in the data. So I'd be very surprised if most people who care haven't seen it. But what this means is, working on the assumption that it is Anduin that they're talking about, there are some very intriguing possibilities that kind of come up. And one of them is, obviously, that they refer to Anduin as an instrument. I think he's a lovely little flute, for the record. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
He's not a big bongo drum, is he? Put it that way. He's not crashing cymbals, is he?
Anduin bores me.
I think he's a little kalimba.
Like, yeah, the flute, the most boring of instruments. But I don't want to smack talk people who enjoy playing the flute.
Hey, flute is a very sexy instrument. But also, maybe it can make you cry if you play it wrong. So that's why I think of Anduin, maybe. And so he's an instrument, but he's also a weapon. Double bass makes a very good weapon, just saying. Thrall could get some good leverage on a double bass if he had to use it as a weapon.
Well, in the way that the jailer is talking about this weapon, it's like it's a weapon in building, because he's talking about honing the weapon. So it's not
again
ready
suggests
yet.
Anduin, someone who's only just arrived there and who is liable to be shaped, which is fascinating.
Yeah, and definitely not the character who would just be instantly on board for whatever Sylvanas and the jailer would like this person to get to do. He's not going to be like, hey, Anduin, you want to come be the weapon of this giant evil army? Anduin's not going to be like, yeah, where do I sign? It sounds great. Let's go. That's going to be his response.
And they have seen like what he's capable of, because he fought back the forces of the jailer in the Maw. Don't know if you remember. Have you ever done the Maw, the intro scenario?
I've only wasted a good 7 hours of my life watching doing the same quest over and over again. And if I have to tell Jaina to continue talking one more time, it's going to severely diminish my deep burning love of the character.
I know. Give me some character agency. Allow me to say at the beginning of that speech, I am listening. Just get through to the end without me having to click on you again. That'd be great. Thanks. And then I'll leave you and Thrall alone in this cave, which is clearly what you're after. But yeah, so like, that bit in the Maw. Don't tell me you've done the Maw like 50 times. You must have noticed that bit where she's like, "Oh yeah, you guys and Mograine, you go out, but I'm so tired. I'm gonna stay here in the cave." And Thrall's all like, "Oh yeah, I'm all tired as well. I think I'm gonna stay in the cave as well. You guys go and come back when you've got the big soul."
If the cave is a rumbling, don't come a grumbling.
Yeah, we come back and we've got like this big soul on a chain, and we're like, there's a pair of sneakers in the doorway of the cave. Weird. What's that? Someone's moved the flower pot out of the doorway of the cave. I don't understand. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'll be right back. I'm going to go hang a chain on the door. There, I did a voice, chat room. Are you happy?
A crossbow, not my preferred instrument of choice, but I'll make it work.
Oh, that's... No.
It's got some heft. So
there's been a lot of wiener jokes on this episode.
Don't blame me. Blame Steve Danusa.
And the flute is a cylindrical instrument that you put up to your mouth.
Yeah, Bandcamp jokes abound. So Anduin is the instrument. Anduin is the weapon. He's the weapon. Now, right, number one. Why is Anduin powerful enough that they would pin all of their hopes on him? 2, how are they going to turn him? Now, you're a big Star Wars watcher. You've seen a lot of people fall to the dark side, right? You've seen a lot of Sith Lords become Sith Lords in your time following Star Wars media. How do they turn Anduin?
They manipulate their belief system.
How? Tell me.
It's different for every person.
So like, with him, they would have to show him that the light is bad, basically.
Yes, or that their way of doing things is a means to Anduin's end. Whatever, like Anduin's greatest desire, greatest hope, the way that Anduin most wants to affect change, that through them, he can achieve that.
Ooh, interesting. So what is Anduin's greatest aim and greatest hope that they can do?
That I don't know. His arc to this point, in a grander sense, he kind of wants peace, right? Like Anduin was brought up as like kind of started under the old pacifist Jaina, like under her tutelage, and has really like and used to be kind of the foil to Varian in Varian's early days when he was thrust into World of Warcraft spotlight as this kind of warmongering king.
Sure. I get that.
And
I get that. So yeah, it could be that old thing of like I always think of it as like the Fire Nation in Avatar, right? That thing where when you saw Fire Nation people talking about what they were doing in Avatar, it was often kind of billed as, we did a great thing. We brought peace to the world by crushing everyone else. And I guess that's kind of what the approach the jailer and Sylvanas would take with Anduin. Anduin's biggest kind of love is peace, but also justice. So in my mind, it's that thing of going, look, we've already mentioned a couple of times how unfair we think this system, whatever the mechanics of death is, however it was set up, we know that the jailer considers himself very wronged at some point in the past, and I'm sure that will be brought up as kind of like evidence of the injustice of the system. And I think it will be a play on Anduin's sense of justice. If they can show him how unfair it is, then that's how they get him on their side, they think. And you know how I think they would do that?
How?
Tiffin Rin or Varian Rin. Because both of those people are dead, both of those people are in the Shadowlands. If they can show Anduin that his mum or his dad, both people that he very much liked traditionally, are being treated incredibly unfairly in the Shadowlands due to the mechanisms of death and the machinery of death, if they can go, look, your mum never did anything wrong. All she did was stand on a balcony and get hit in the head with a stone. And look where she is now. It's terrible. It's awful. Look what she's become. Look what this unfair system has done.
Wouldn't Tiffin have gone through the proper Shadowlands channels?
Yes, which is why it's an example of the injustice of the system. Like, if it's Varian and it's just like, oh, he went straight to the maw like everyone, that doesn't really show Anduin how unfair the structure is. But if it's someone who
that's what I was leading up to. I don't think it could be Varian, because Varian would have just went to the maw, and
I think Varian did go to the maw. I think it's a bit early for that. But either way, like, the fact that they've gone through the proper system, if they can show Anduin that it's unfair or that person is suffering, and it's like, look, this was the arbiter that did this. They went through the system. This is how it's supposed to work. This is the system working as intended. This is what we want to break, and it's your mum getting treated very unfairly, or your dad getting treated very unfairly, like in a horrible zone, and being forced to be the antithesis of everything that they stood for, or something like that. Maybe his mum is in Maldraxxus and forced to fight and like cause war and stuff, which is like anti everything she ever was, or something like that. Maybe his dad is like a Kyrian and forced to serve, and he's like, my dad shouldn't serve, my dad is a leader, or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? And this idea of like, this is how broken the system is. Look how in pain your loved one is because of the machinery of death. You need to help us break it, because it's the only fair thing to do. It's the only way we will have justice for these sins. Like, that's the thing that can turn Anduin, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Do you take any? Do you pay any credibility at all to the Arthas is actually Anduin's dad theory?
No.
Okay. I don't really either.
Again, that involves such amazing gamer logic, as they both have blonde hair.
I thought it all started when Anduin threw the doors open to the Lordaeron throne room in the exact same fashion, shot from the exact same camera angle, but sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but that was just fun. Like all those kind of, and it also it could also suggest how, I mean, okay, so the obvious parallels between Anduin and Arthas in those cinematics are there for numerous reasons, partly to undermine what's happening because of the associations we've got with the other cinematics. So in the original Warcraft 3 one, Arthas is going there to dethrone a king, and he's going there to execute the person who is sitting on the throne. And we know that because we've seen that cinematic, that's why they reference it. And Anduin is going in there to do the same thing, is to kill the person sitting on the throne, who is Sylvanas. And setting up that expectation by referencing the cinematic allows them to undermine it, because then Sylvanas, it turns out, is the one setting the trap. Like, they've used our knowledge of the reference that they are bringing up to undermine it and change what happens. Like that. That's what they're doing in that cinematic. It could also be interpreted considered as, if in fact Anduin is going to be turned and become evil, like later on, that could be seen as the start of his journey. Is where he sort of starts going after Sylvanas in that way, in revenge. Like his actions in Lordaeron could be seen as revenge for what happened in Darnassus, rather than like a proper military maneuver to try and end a war. So whereas that was quite near the end of Arthas's journey, where he made his homecoming and killed his dad, like it was very much the beginning of Anduin's journey, but the journey is very comparable to Arthas's in that, the dark path that he goes down is very much due to decisions that he has made and seen through, and that's the tragedy of it. So, like, those are the comparisons that I'd draw from the similarities in the cinematics and the obvious references in the cinematics, rather than Arthas is the Lich King's son.
I agree.
Because they both walk through the doors in Lordaeron.
Although I would say that kind of, to me, Anduin's trajectory in through BFA just kind of got muddied, and he felt sidelined to me.
Oh yeah,
it kind of felt like he was supposed to come into his own and take the war and take the fight to the Horde, but Saurfang 110% stole his spotlight.
Yeah, at Anduin's invitation, it has to be said as well, in fairness. Like, Anduin goes to Saurfang in the cell and literally is like, I can't do this, you have to, and lets him out. So it's not, Anduin kind of purposely takes a backseat in that sense, which you could read as being actually incredibly mature of him. Like, instead of diving in with both feet, he delegates and he allows the people who could actually make a difference to do it. And you see that, I think, in the Avengers Assemble cinematic, where he goes to meet Saurfang in Kalimdor just before the second siege of Alderaan, and they talk about it that way. And yeah, I think maybe go back on some of those cinematics, because I feel like his decision to not be at the forefront of that stuff is a decision, and a tactical decision, and one that works, has to be said as well. But I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think, and to have any chance of turning Anduin at all, you need to discredit the way death currently works somehow, or is supposed to be working. How they go about doing it, it sure feels like pulling on old heartstrings of dead loved ones. Sure would be a theme or a direction they could go in an expansion where we can bring back the dead.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like the way that they would do that with Anduin to turn him and to turn him into the useful weapon that they need him to be would be to show him injustice, because that's what he cares about. He cares about justice. So if they can show him that this system is unfair and deserves to be dismantled, then he's on their side, right?
Yeah.
You sound like you disagree. Where do you see it going instead?
I don't. It's just... It becomes fairly predictable to me if they turn Anduin, because he's not going to stay turned.
But I mean, okay, that you're talking a bit meta there, but do you think that they're going to turn him?
I'm more thinking
or
bigger
try
picture,
to turn. Clearly that's their plan, right?
Sorry, what was that?
I mean, you agree that turning him would be their plan, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
That certainly seems to be what the jailer is hinting at. But then I start to think about the just Shadowlands as a whole. Where are we going? This is a positive. To its credit, I think Shadowlands is very focused. It doesn't seem like we're going to get lost on.
I agree.
On side quests. We're not going to have this big split between the war between the Horde and Alliance, and then also there's N'Zoth, and we have to somehow make all of this work, and it kind of doesn't, which is another challenge of BFA's and where its story went. Shadowlands seemed like it's really focused on Sylvanas and the jailer. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, where are we going? Is it interesting? Is there room for surprises? And if the next big chapter opens up and it's Anduin is on the side of the jailer, it's like, there's no way it stays this way.
For sure. And one of the things that surprised me was how sure, and we see this a little bit later on in the other cinematic that arrives later on, how sure Sylvanas is that Anduin can be turned. you know? And Sylvanas has got a pretty rubbish record in this respect. Like, she thought she turned Varimathras away from the Legion, but she hadn't. He took over the whole of Undercity while she was away. She thought she turned Proudmoore, the Proudmoore brother. She, like, dug him up from the sea and took him out from a boat in BFA, and the whole point was to turn him into a sleeper agent, which it doesn't look like she managed to do. Looks like she failed pretty dismally there. But now she's
is Jaina gonna walk up to Anduin and ask, "Are you the bomb this time?"
And Anduin's like, you know, much kind of more loyal to his beliefs than any of those guys, you'd imagine, and much stronger in that sense. And like, she's just convinced that she can turn him, which almost makes me suspicious that, you know, we talk about the maybe 5D chess game that Sylvanas is playing against the jailer, is when she's talking about getting him on side. Obviously, she's selling it as getting him on side on our team, me, Sylvanas, and the jailer's team. But could it be, you know, she knows she's never going to get him on this side, and actually there's going to be a moment where she's like, hey, you know what? This jailer dude is bad news. We need to do something about this. What do you say?
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like if we're talking about Anduin's trajectory, I think we start to talk about Sylvanas's and the jailers as well, because I don't look at Sylvanas as someone who has any interest in taking orders.
But I mean, there's also, I agree with you. And Sylvanas' motivations are very interesting to me in this expansion, because the way she talks about the jailer and the jailer's plan does genuinely suggest that she believes in it, that she believes in the plan, that she believes in what the jailer is trying to achieve. Whatever she thinks of the jailer, like, it certainly seems that she genuinely believes in the cause, which is not something we've really seen from Sylvanas in a very, very long time. Like, she never really believed in the Horde. You know, we never saw her full, going with that both feet. Never see her believe in anything wholeheartedly apart from revenge against Arthas, which she never even really managed to get. Like, and yet, when she talks about what the jailer's trying to do, it seems she genuinely believes in it. Likewise, Denathrius in the cinematic at the end of the questing and the leveling campaign as well. Like, say what you like, and obviously he was doing a big baddie thing and like getting all the anima sucked off into the maw. But
there has to be a better way to say that. But yeah,
that's the absolute best way you can possibly say it. The anima was getting sucked off to the maw, like, and Denathrius was watching it. Crawl to me on your knees. And
Jake's
but he genuinely seemed to believe in the wrong that the jailer had faced as well. He says, you know, the jailer will take back what was taken from him. And interestingly, the other things they say about the jailer's motivation do seem to contradict each other. Denathrius seems to think that the jailer's plan is for death to take over everything. And like to have dominion over everything. And Sylvanas seems to think the plan is to dismantle the whole concept of death. And those things could work together, but they don't seem to. They seem to contradict each other. So there's also the possibility that the jailer is literally just saying his plan is different to different people. And it's like, he said one thing to Denathrius, he's saying another thing to Sylvanas, and they both believe in him for those reasons, but that's not actually the jailer's plan at all. So maybe, like, we keep talking about Sylvanas betraying the jailer. Is there a point where maybe the jailer is actually shaping up to betray Sylvanas? Like, she's finally got this cause that she believes in and that she's actually genuinely, wholeheartedly behind. She's like, yeah, you're right. This whole death thing is totally unfair. Let's dismantle it. And the jailer's like, well, that's what I want to do. Come along and help. And it's like, Denathrius is like, do we want to dismantle it? I thought we just wanted to make death the most powerful thing that bossed everything else around. Jailer's like, oh no, that is what we're going to do. So there's going to be a moment where he's like...
and to me, that could kind of go one of two ways. I think there's a point where the jailer turns on Sylvanas. What that reasoning is, I think it could either be, if Sylvanas is angling at betraying the jailer, I could see the jailer finding that out and becoming the proactive party in that sense and being like, oh, you thought you were going to betray me? Well, sorry, I figured this out, and now you're mine. Sylvanas almost seems like she's on a crash course for like being the next Ajara, like being Like I see her imprisoned in a raid.
I don't even know what the current Ashara's game is, though. To be honest, so I haven't got room for another Ashara.
That is fair, but I'm just thinking of where she ended up in the final raid of BFA, which was like imprisoned and being like, oh, heroes, oof, hey, we're cool, right? I'm so glad you're here. Like that, it's still that doesn't necessarily. I don't know. I have think more patience than usual for repeated themes in World of Warcraft, just because we have so many characters and the story has been going on so long. You're eventually going to come back around on certain themes and archetypes. To me, it's just, was the journey fun? That I enjoy my path along the way is when I end up chalking it up to negative or positive in my mind. But it just seems, I don't know. I'm seeing similar threads.
Yeah. So, to the visceral, satisfying part of this conversation, do you think there will be a moment where we see Anduin turn? Even if it's like a lie?
Yes.
So you think we'll see a dark Anduin, as it were?
I don't think they can help themselves.
Yeah, I don't think they can either.
I really don't think they can help themselves. Like it's too juicy. I want that visual. I don't care if it doesn't.
I know.
I don't care if it doesn't stick.
Exactly. You know, like story-wise,
Luke
I can
walking into Jabba's palace in full black. Doesn't matter that he's still the hero of that film. It's a visual you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. And like story-wise, I could see it not happening. But I can't see those cinematic dudes sitting around the table with Steve Noosa and then passing up the opportunity to have a dark Anduin. I just can't see it happening. It's definitely like I think it's guaranteed it's going to happen. We're going to get our dark Anduin at some point. Now, whether it's like genuine and whether he needs to be saved or whether he won't be saved, I find that very hard to believe. But maybe like there'll be a moment where, he has a moment of clarity and like comes out of it or whatever, or if he was lying all along. But I think we'll definitely see it for sure. Maybe Sylvanas will save him. Maybe Sylvanas will turn him, and then the jailer will betray her, and then she'll be like, "Oh no!" and saves Anduin, and then they both like bum up together and go and save the day.
They both, yeah.
And he was like, "Wow, I thought you were evil, but you stopped me being dark Anduin, so you can't be that evil. Draenor is free."
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is my hope, because I've always, Sylvanas has always lived as a sympathetic character in my mind, which is why the burning of Teldrassil just never sat right with me. And I realize people disagree with me, and I've seen every defense of it as humanly possible. So and that's not what I'm interested in. It's not the conversation I'm trying to have. I'm just trying to explain why I had the reaction that I had. And so I don't know. Like I think there's still a part of me that wants Sylvanas to make a right decision for a change, because I still see her fall at the hands of Arthas and the torment that followed as something that sticks with me and something that still makes me have any iota of sympathy for this character. But I don't know how much of that is coloring my desire to see her have any sort of redemption.
Well, I've got a question for you, and this is a genuine question. This is like, bearing in mind what you've just said about Sylvanas and like just wanting to see her make the right decision at some point. Why have you never wanted that for Arthas? Why are you happy that Arthas didn't need that? Because you still love Arthas. Arthas is still one of your favorite characters, but he's never had to have
but I love villains. Like Vader is my favorite character in Star Wars. I see him as a villain, as someone who has made irredeemable choices, but it's just I like good villains. They're fun. Like I love Ganondorf. I love Arthas. I love Vader. They're fun characters. It doesn't mean I think they have the right world beliefs or views. Arthas, he makes all his own decisions. He ends up where he ends up as a direct result of his own personal decisions. He is the instrument of his own downfall. Now, yeah, he was influenced, but the door was open for him, but he still chose to walk through. Sylvanas was murdered by Arthas, had her soul ripped out of her body, and was forced into servitude underneath him. And I just feel for that. And that's really where Teldrassil didn't work for me, because I always looked at Sylvanas as someone who never forgot what that felt like to be a part of essentially genocide. Which, and I don't mean to make this too serious by invoking a word like that, but it's just the best word I can find for what happened to Sylvanas when she was alive, when Arthas showed up. And so when she's just like, yeah, let's just kill everyone in Teldrassil. Let's just resort to wanton destruction and loss of life. I was just like, God, I just don't see it. I feel like she wouldn't have forgotten what that was like and the toll that took on her and her people. But that's the reason, that's the road they went down. And again, I'm not trying at this. I've given up. Like I've given up trying to convince anyone to think the way I think. But this is just the way where the character has always resided in my mind, and that's why I see Sylvanas as someone who was thrown into darkness against her will, whereas Arthas was someone who walked into darkness with open arms.
Is there not also I agree with you, obviously. Is there not also like an argument where Arthas may have made all his own decisions, but he was always trying to do good? You could argue that, okay, Sylvanas didn't choose to become a Banshee and didn't choose to become Sylvanas, but she has since chosen to do the opposite of good many times since then. And not just Teldrassil, but on countless occasions before that as well. And at some point, don't you have to kind of go, well, yeah, it's shit what happened to her, but all the decisions she's made since have been her own, and she's chosen to do the bad things. Whereas Arthas, he did bad things. Absolutely, that's the tragedy. It was all his own choice, but he was trying to do good. And Sylvanas, since she became a Badgie, you could make the argument she's never tried to do good. The good that she was trying to do when we first met her was defend her home, which is pretty low bar for good actions, really. Who wouldn't?
Well, and you're coming around to where I think the reason I'm trying to like fan check myself. It's like as someone who up until Teldrassil had sympathy for Sylvanas, I don't think I do anymore, and I agree with you. And I think that's why I think post Teldrassil Sylvanas to me is irredeemable. I think Sylvanas deserves to pay at this point.
Interesting.
And so I don't. I think as pre Teldrassil Sylvanas fan wants Sylvanas redeemed. I think post Teldrassil Sylvanas, I think just the way World of Warcraft has played out, I think Sylvanas deserves to pay for her actions.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting, but I really enjoy her seeing, and this is why I hope that she's not playing the Jailer. I don't mind if the Jailer's playing her, but I don't want to see her playing the Jailer so much because, I don't know, I'm just enjoying her genuinely believing in something. And I'm enjoying her being a baddie. Like, and having the freedom to be a baddie. Like, she was always written as a baddie in World of Warcraft. Like, Warcraft 3 is its own beast. But since we've known her in World of Warcraft, and in this world, in this game, she's always been written as like the odd one out in the Horde and someone who didn't believe in it and someone who was always kind of undermining it, and especially from Cataclysm onwards, like when she didn't have the very sympathetic crutch of, Arthas is still out there and I'd like to get revenge on him. Once that was gone from Cataclysm onwards, where there's not so much sympathy for her because, okay, like, Arthas is gone now. Why are you doing the bad stuff now? They've always had to hold back on it a little bit because, yeah, she's a faction leader and a much loved faction leader and someone that a lot of people do feel a lot of sympathy for. And it's been fun to watch her just, like, let loose and be the baddie that... And especially if she genuinely believes in the cause. Like, if she then undermines that by going, I never believed in this all along, it's a bit like, now I don't like you as a goodie or a baddie. It's like
stand for something, right?
Yeah,
like
totally.
Stand for anything at all. But I mean, I think you could still have her betray the jail. If her thought is to betray the Jailer so she can kind of usurp him and have full control over death. Yeah, that still makes sense to me and still makes her a baddie. Oh, do you know what?
That I could go with. You're absolutely right. When I say betray the Jailer, what I mean is, everything I did all along was to stop the bad thing that the Jailer was trying to do. That's what I actually mean when I say betray. I mean, like, betray as in, I never believed in your plan, and I only did it to stop you destroying Azeroth. Like, it was 5D chess all along. Look at the size of my forehead. That's the thing that would really piss me off.
Yeah. And I've said this on the show before, that, like, once I just get out of my own way with, like, not liking Teldrassil, pure, like, full-on villain Sylvanas is fun as hell. Like, her sitting side saddle in the Lordaeron throne room. Love it. Cut, print it. Fun villain, love it.
Yeah.
But it's still like, if we're having the conversation, I have all these other, like, dangling thoughts with the Sylvanas character. So, but yeah, at this point, like, just keep her bad and let's have her be a raid boss.
Yeah,
Sylvanas
totally.
for
Let's just
raid
kick her ass. It's
21.
Fine. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
with this in mind, right, we think there might be a point where we have a Dark Anduin. Like, how he gets there, we don't know. What Sylvanas' role in it and her intentions behind it all, we don't know. But with that in mind, let's get into some proper juicy speculation, okay, and say 9.1 is going to have to happen. We're guessing around late March for it. We're guessing that it'll probably be announced at BlizzConline in February. We've asked this question before on the show, but we've never had this much context and we've never had this much story, like, out there and revealed to us before. You know, so this point of expansion, going into 2021, having played through the leveling, having played through the raid, having seen how that ends up, being at the point in the Covenant campaign where you are, and I am at this comparable points in all of them. Now, with all that in mind, where do you see us going in 9.1? And do you think we'll go anywhere? What do you see happening in 9.1?
Sensically and realistically, I think we're going to see where the hell the brokers are coming from.
Yes.
I think we're going to get some sort of new zone. But
I agree.
I don't know if that's where the raid is going. I really don't know. I don't know, like, what the next raid is.
Yeah.
And that's strange to me. But that all comes back to the fact that the Covenants and their stories right now are very inward, and they don't seem to be heading towards some big Avengers crossover that point us towards a singular direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then also Nathria itself doesn't point anywhere.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Personally, I was with you. I wanted it to kind of wink and nod, where, like, I wanted it to like give us a compass. Hey, this is the direction we're going next, and I don't know.
So, in my mind, there's a couple of options. One, the Forsworn, which you might be surprised to hear me mention. The Forsworn is still, as far as I don't think we tie a ribbon on the Forsworn at the end of the Covenant campaign. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at the moment in the Covenant, like, I haven't spoiled myself for that, and at the moment in the Covenant campaign, you know, we've only got a couple of chapters left, and, you know, maybe we'll be able to destroy, like, I think we might end up getting Uther on side, but the Forsworn as an entity might still be out there, and maybe perfect to have a raid against, you know, and fight against in some way and bring them down, because they are working with the Jailer. They're a legitimate kind of, like, enemy to fight against. I think that's possible. The other option is the Brokers, and I think it might be a bit too soon for them to kind of, like, reveal their hand. I feel like the Brokers might be a slower burn, and something that kind of we get to later on in the expansion. The closer we get, the later the patches get, though, the more it has to, I think, be a direct tie-in to the Jailer and Sylvanas. So to me, 0.1 seems like the only time you could really sink your teeth into the Brokers without it feeling anticlimactic or making certain players impatient. I don't disagree, and it's worth noting. Did you go and get your weekly dungeon quests off the Brokers in that downstairs room in Oribos this week? Because when you go down to get your weeklies, there is a conversation happening.
Oh, I definitely missed it because I totally. Yeah, Martinwild, man. I'm Blue Fox in, Blue Fox out.
So when you go down there, they're talking to the Opulence, which is really funny. I love how Opulence is like a title. So, you know, you got all your guys hang around there, and one of the is the Opulence, and someone goes up to the Opulence. One of the Brokers goes up to the Opulence and says, "Opulence, words to the effect of, you know, some of these Oribos guys are asking some questions and getting a bit impatient, and, you know, might kind of be on the verge of, like, spoiling stuff for us." And Opulence is like, "Look, you just got to placate them, just got to make them feel okay, because we can't get shaken from our cause here, right? I profit, we all profit." he says. And so we know already with all the Venari stuff and what have you that there is a broader kind of like conspiracy or storyline going on with them, and clearly that is going to come out. Clearly the brokers are a bit sus. And
yes, are you a Futurama fan?
I mean, I don't dislike it, but I'm not a connoisseur by any means.
Are you familiar with the scammers from the first feature-length Futurama film?
No.
Oh, okay. They're a race of aliens that just scam entire planets out of everything they own, and I'm getting major scammer vibes from the brokers.
Sounds good, but then maybe it's a googly. Maybe it's a tricksy. Maybe it's like actually they are trying to do some good, and actually they'll actually kind of enlist us. Maybe they're like, look, the reason we're trying to get all these resources together is because the Drust are about to take over, and the only way we could see to stop them was to have loads of money. Hey, it's worked for other nations on our world.
That seems questionable. But
yeah, it seems questionable. But that brings us to our other option, which is the Drust and Thros. The Drust are obviously quite a big force in Ardenweald. They are clearly making inroads into Ardenweald, and we still got the Thros guy from the end of Waycrest Manor that needs dealing with. Presumably he's out there somewhere and will make an appearance.
And back to the brokers, like they're not just stealing money. I mean, we fight one that's like in a weapons vault
and
in
artifacts. Yeah. But then okay, so. Also, all around Shadowlands, which is something that people aren't really talking about much, are those kind of like things from the Upside Down are from like the cracks that have been appearing in the Shadowlands due to the Anima drought. Like, those kind of portals, and they look like they're from Ardenweald, but they're not. They're like kind of like I guess like the Shadowlands version of the Twisting Nether, like the in-between, like the mirror realm or whatever, and they're coming in through the cracks and they're feeding on Anima. And if you look at
it's literally called the in-between when you're flying between realms.
Is it? Oh, there we are.
Well, you spend so much damn time flying.
Yeah, and that's where they're from. And it could be the brokers gathering weapons to try and fight them off. No one's talking about those guys yet. You can get one as a mount, and it gives you a little bit of sort of lore on the mount description of it, and that's like the best description we've got of what they actually are, because otherwise they're never really explained. And they're everywhere. They're in every zone, just kind of like there feeding on stuff. And presumably it's going to get worse. Well, you'd think it would actually get better since we're kind of solving the drought a bit now, but guaranteed it will get worse. And so they're an option as well, these like monsters from the in-between. I kind of hope it's not Thros and Drust, because I've kind of been there, and I know you don't like dusty dead zones, so...
I do like the Drust brand of Dead Zone, though, is really cool.
It is cool.
Drust is great, but we've had 2 expansions in a row now of Drust.
Yeah. Obviously the Venari stuff with the brokers is very intriguing as well, and that's what makes me think it might be a slightly bigger story than a 9.1 thing. But I suspect we'll obviously find out more about it in 9.1, whether or not it's the main thrust of the story. And goodness, a zone, because flying is meant to be coming in 9.1 as well. Which I'm a bit disappointed about, honestly. I'm really enjoying still running around the zones at the moment.
Oh, Joe.
I know we have very
finally we disagree this episode. All right.
I know, but usually 2 patches is enough for me to want to be able to fly around the zones, and I even then I miss kind of the perspective and the views you get when you're walking around them, and like the routes you take.
Then get your ass to the ground and enjoy your views.
Obviously not. That's like saying, like, before transmog existed, well, just wear greys if you think they look better. Like, we don't need a new system to make you be able to wear whatever you want. Just wear the shit gear if you like it so much.
Can we get hashtag no tally trending, please? No. I couldn't disagree with you more.
Well, I know you couldn't, but for me,
I don't think I've ever been more just exacerbated by how long it takes me to do daily grinds in World of Warcraft than in Shadowlands. Yeah.
I'm amazed, because I like that's something about Shadowlands that I really, really like. I like how involved the world quests are. I like how long they take. I like how long it takes to get I like how it's not a quick like run round one and done. Honestly, I like how involved they are. I like how like loads of the world quests have like multiple stages to them. You know, like I like how you go around and you charge up your thing by killing some things, and then you get into a big machine and you blow loads of them up, and then you run and kill the elite that was kind of ruling the force. I love all that. I think it's brilliant. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I hate all of it. I hate everything that you just said that you like.
That's so weird.
Mind. Like, so I know the exact quest you're talking about in Bastion, where you kill a bunch of stuff, you charge a thing up, and then you do a super laser out of a one of the robot dudes. I would almost agree with you, except it takes probably 4 times as long as I think it should to charge the thing. And then they make you run approximately 7 miles to go kill the bastard that you need to kill. It's just like, why? Why? Like, I want to like this thing because I do like the narrative structure. I do like the unlocking of one piece of the quest after the other. I think that's cool. But it's like all of it takes so much longer than it needs to. And then it's like, yeah, all right. Run down this long hallway where everything is dead, which is cool the first time you've done it, but I've done it like 17 times now. So it just,
I don't know. It makes it feel like less of a grind to me. It makes it feel like a much less of a grind to me personally. But like everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and everyone's going to have their own subjective opinion on it, and that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. But I'm just saying that I really enjoy it.
I'm not trying to win an argument here. I honestly find that fascinating that you say it feels like less of a grind to you, because to me it exacerbates the grind. To me, it really hammers home the parts where I'm just not doing anything, and I'm doing this I feel like I've run down that same bridge so many times to kill that one mob, and also the amount of times that the mob is like at 2% health when I arrive there, and my throwing my weapon on my warrior doesn't actually connect in time, and I have to just sit there and wait like a jackass for the respawn.
Okay, that is bad. That is bad, yeah. And obviously it's a grind, but I mean, for a start, world quests aren't as important as they have been in previous expansions. And secondly,
I don't know about you, man. Are you aware of? Have you upgraded a damn thing in your covenant? Are you aware of how much anima you need?
Yeah, but it comes pretty naturally. Just do the big ones. Do your mission tables that give you animus. You don't have to bother with that. And do the ones that give you 250 anima, and don't bother with the rest of the shit. You're going to get your anima.
The majority of the mission table missions give you 35 anima, by the way. It's
yeah, I know, but the majority of world quests give you 130, something like that. So yeah, when I have a calling that says go and do world quests, I usually target the anima ones, and I do 3, and that's that. And then I do my weekly quests, weekly dungeon quests, which give anima. I kill the world boss, and which gives 250, 300, something like that. And then yes. I kill, there's once a day, there's usually a world quest that has 250 anima up, and I do that, and that's it. And those ones are really involved. There's one in Turn a Scythe, and this is what got me thinking that I didn't want to fly really, is because I really loved running around Turn a Scythe, that bit which is in the dungeon with the maze and stuff, but in the world. And I just really enjoyed it. I wouldn't be enjoying this if I was flying. And you go on the hunt, and you join the wild hunt, and you go running from bit to bit, and it's really well programmed, and it's just nicely scripted, and I just really enjoyed it. And I was like, yeah, this is fun.
I find this so fascinating because everything you're mentioning that you really like I cannot stand it. That very thing. Why does every zone have an area with quests that I do not see as skippable, because I do basically the same thing you are describing. I go for the big anima for the most part, except I did finally upgrade one thing to level 2, and now I'm anima starved, and now I'm just grinding.
Oh, you will be, and yeah,
But back to your why does every zone have the elite corner where you have to just corpse run through shit that murders you dead if you're not a rogue or a druid to get to the quest? It's I like that quest. I like that quest a lot, and I do like that it's in Turn Aside, and I have to walk around. I love that area. It's like Lost Woods in Zelda. It's fantastic. But why do I just have to go, oh shit for 5 minutes before I actually get to where the quest is?
Look, I hate to say this because I don't want to be elitist, but it sounds like you're just shit at the game. Have you stopped to consider that maybe you're just trash at this game?
It sounds to me like you're a lot closer to Sire Denathrius's sexual preferences than you might be letting on to.
I feel like you're getting totally domed by the game here, and I mean...
No, I think you like getting domed by the game.
No, it doesn't dom me. I find it interesting. I find it interesting.
I found it interesting the first 2 to 3 weeks, and then at that point, I'm just like, I'm a little, it's tiresome to do the elite avoidance again, and
yeah,
I don't know. And again, and like I realized some people in the chat room are like, "Wah, Garrett, wah." Like I get it. I get that I'm bitching.
No, I think people on your side in this chat room. This is my stream chat room, and everyone's on your side.
It comes from a place where I think this expansion is one of the best I've played, and so the things that irk me really stand out to me. And so like things like I straight up don't want to go to Revendreth. I don't want to be there. It is so horrendously inconvenient to move around. I don't enjoy being in the zone, which sucks because I love looking at it. I think it's one of the greatest looking and design zones I've ever seen. But moving around it takes me like 4 times as long to do anything in Revendreth as it does in any of the other 3 zones. So I just avoid it entirely. That just seems strange to me. And I don't know. I'm usually, because you and I have had the Pathfinder conversation so many times. Like to me, I'm like 0.2 patches makes sense for flying. I just don't want to grind out new
reputation
when I get there. Yeah, that to me is where I get. But this is the first expansion where I'm like, after a month, I'm ready to fly. I'm done.
Look, maybe by the time, listen, I don't think 9.1 is coming in a month, all right? So maybe by the time it comes, I will be totally on board with being able to fly. I just think at the moment, like if flying happened tomorrow, I get the feeling you'd really like be thankful about that and really like it, and I'd be a bit disappointed. That's all. I'd rather a bit more time running around.
And I'm not again, like with everything I've talked about today, I'm not trying to bring you over to my side. I'm trying to explain to you why I feel the way I feel. So yeah,
because like I don't feel like I know the maps yet. I don't feel like I know my way from one place to another. I don't know the nooks and crannies. Like all the best video games I've ever played. And like the Yakuza games are really good with this. Like all the RPGs, like the early Fallout games, like 1 and 2 and stuff. All the early Baldur's Gate and stuff. Like all the games that I've always really loved, I have played so much that I know the maps inside out. I know like zones in WoW, so like inside out, and I don't know the zones in Shadowlands like that yet. And I enjoy running around them, and I'm constantly coming across new bits that I don't know. And that I'm appreciating. Like I went to the Chalice Ward in Revendreth. I'd never been in the Chalice Ward before, or I hadn't noticed ever being in the Chalice Ward. And I was like, wow, the houses are nice around here. This is cool. And like you just notice a bit of character about a zone that you hadn't noticed before. And like just the way that the mobs are arranged around there, it just has a slightly different character. From other parts, and you'd miss that if you were flying, and I'm not ready to move on from like exploring these zones yet is all. And that's a very RPG thing. I appreciate that. I like, even though I don't role play, I appreciate that I like the RPG elements of the game more than most people, and I get that, and I know that a lot of people disagree with me on it, so I never push it, but it's how I feel, and I appreciate running around the zones at the moment, and I will be. If it were to happen tomorrow and we were to get flying, I'd be sad about it, put it that way. But it's not happening for at least another 20 weeks, don't worry, because it's not on the renowned chart right now.
Yeah, and all of that is informing my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time we actually get, and guaranteed, when flying does come in 9.1, it will come as in it will be on the renowned chart, but it ain't going to be the first thing on the renowned chart, is it? It's going to be like, look, we told you flying's coming in 9.1. It's like, yeah, in week 20, which I can now see, like, that's what it's going to be. You know it. So, like, yeah, I dare say I'll be on your side by the time flying actually comes around. I'll be very, very ready for it.
We're gonna have to run for too long.
Yeah. Okay, listen, I've got an incredible theory that has just come into my head now, which is unrelated to what we've just been talking about, but actually quite related to the topic of this stream and of this podcast, which I know I'm as surprised as you are. But so, how can I put this? The Ardenweald campaign right now is kind of centered around, and this isn't really a spoiler, kind of centered around the fact that Tyrande is not the only Night Warrior and not the original Night Warrior. And that Night Warriors haven't just existed for a very, very long time, but they've literally existed on other worlds, which is fascinating for a number of reasons, not least of all the idea that Elune is recognized and worshipped on multiple other worlds, at least. So we all accept that the Night Warrior is a thing that isn't only Tyrande and that other Night Warriors exist.
Yes.
In our reality. What if it's the same with the Lich King? What if Arthas is not the only Lich King and there are multiple Lich Kings from across Azeroth, across our universe? What if that little cutscene that you see when you get all the legendary recipes and you see the jailer telling the Primus, sorry, the runesmith to make the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne, what if they are not the only Helm of Domination and the only Frostmourne? And what if the jailer, much like a loon and the Night Warrior, has Lich Kings everywhere?
Well, how does that impact the story? Because so far, Shadowlands has not been very interested in diving deep into the multiverse thread.
It doesn't have. No. I'm not talking multiverse. I'm talking like just like, because it's not suggested that the other Night Warriors are from a multiverse. Like, they're from our reality. They're just from different worlds, like different, but not a different reality, not a different kind of alternative universe or something else. They're from our universe.
but it's not, I guess it's not explicitly stated. But I get the vibe that there's only ever one Night Warrior at a time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I get that. But I mean, that's because the Night Warrior is mortal, right? But the Lich King doesn't have to be. And there's nothing to say there could only be one Night Warrior at a time anyway, just because there was a first one. There's always got to be a first. It doesn't mean they have to come in a sequence. But you're right. But either way, what impact would having multiple Lich Kings on different worlds have on the story? Well, it would mean that the jailer has influence outside of the Shadowlands beyond Azeroth. And we know how important it was when Devos discovered, like, what a big deal Devos considered it to be when she discovered that the jailer had influence on Azeroth. And, like, what a world-ending catastrophe that was to her. And, like, how catastrophic that was. Story-wise, it would mean that actually he's got influence on a lot of different planets. Supposedly through the Dreadlords, which we are reasonably assuming have some connection to the jailer and to Denathrius and to the transportation of Frostmourne and the Helm of Domination out of the Shadowlands and onto Azeroth and into the Legion's hands. And I don't know, I haven't, it's not an idea I've thought about because it literally just came into my head, but we know there are multiple Night Warriors on different worlds. What if there were multiple Lich Kings on different worlds? Like, what would that do for the story? What would that do for the jailer's plan? What would that do for where the expansion could go next? Because what if the expansion turned into a world-hopping, we've got to defeat the Lich King on each world scenario?
I mean, or if they go to invade Azeroth.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that gives us
space-worthy necropolises show up.
So what if there's like, hey, you know that, what if, okay. So the original Night Warrior that we've just become best buds with on Ardenweald, what if we're just chatting to him one day after we've completed the Covenant campaign and, like, we whip out the Helm of Domination, or he comes with us to Oribos and sees the Helm of Domination there, and he's like, oh my god, there's a dude on my world that had one of those. And we're like, what a fuck? And he's like, yeah, what's that? That's the helm that the king guy used to wear. And he had this sword that could capture people's souls. And we're like, oh shit. And then we have to go to that world to, like, fight. And so we get, like, the satisfaction of a Lich King fight, but on a different world against a different Lich King. Like,
he's gonna need to make another move against life, right?
Well,
like,
no, because that's a preemptive thing. But then all the other Lich Kings from all the other worlds, that becomes the attack. So, like, our introduction into the idea of multiple Lich Kings is that it's revealed there's another one on another world. So we go and, like, we're like, well, we have to do something about that. So we go and do something about that, and that's a raid. And it's a fucking Lich King raid. But then it's, like, revealed that, holy shit, he's not the only other Lich King. There are loads. On different worlds, and what's going to happen with that? Like, he's like the jailer's kind of fingers are so deep in these pies that he's got all these fingers in the pie that all he needs to do is just like go like that and clench his fist, and this pie's going everywhere, you know, with all these Lich Kings kind of implanted somewhere. And like the Lich Kings are kind of like the jailers version of the old gods, as in they are just out there causing shit, you know. I don't know, I just thought of it. Just saying. It
makes sense. Because there's been a breadcrumb trail of Dreadlords, right?
Yeah.
And that has
breadcrumb is putting it mildly. It's kind of like a big neon sign, really, but yeah.
Yeah, but the expansion itself hasn't really messed with it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's been very big hints.
Very minor hints, which led to like Draka's cinematic in the House of Eyes actually leaving the Shadowlands to spy on Dreadlords on other worlds, and that calls into question a lot of things. And so yeah, it makes sense that if the jailer's influence extends beyond Azeroth, why couldn't there be Lich Kings in other realms? Because death is clearly a binding agent that affects all the worlds in the existence that Warcraft takes place in. So why would death be any different on other worlds?
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's an interesting idea. Like a Lich King raid on a different world would be fun. Because we deserve a Lich King raid. We deserve a fight against a Lich King. We haven't got a Lich King right now. So, but what if there's one on another world? You know. Guaranteed the Dreadlords are going to be a part of it. And you know what I think? I think that the Dreadlords are going to see our way into the Cosmos War, right? I believe that, you know, I've got a feeling the Jailer's probably trying to make a Death Titan out of the World Soul of Azeroth. I think it will probably be revealed. We know that's what the Void are trying to do. I think it'll probably be revealed that the Light are trying to do it as well. And it wouldn't surprise me if there were other forces from other parts of the cosmos that were probably trying to do the same thing as well. So you have all these cosmic forces who are just in a perpetual state of war with each other anyway, all converging on Azeroth to try and get control of it, sort of thing, and birth their own style Titan. Because that would make them win the Cosmos War or whatever. And I think that could be very interesting, and death is in that game, sort of thing. And I think that's where it's going, and I think the Dreadlords are our way of getting there. There have been like multiple hints that Denathrius is like explicitly connected to the Dreadlords, as in he is one. You know, they refer to him as the Lord of Death. The Lord of Dread. On multiple occasions, like he just looks like one. There's the tower in Revendreth where you find like the diary of reports that are coming back supposedly from Dreadlords from the other parts of the cosmos, like giving you the heads up on what those are. And that tower is pictured like in sketch form on the very last page of the Shadowlands art book that comes with the collector's edition. It's clearly very important.
I need to get that, by the way.
Yeah. Like just plenty of that kind of thing. So yeah, I think we're in for some big Dreadlord reveals. And obviously I'm not alone in thinking that. That's like the general opinion of the speculation community, if there's such a thing. And by speculation community, I mean people that like to talk about a video game.
Yes, yeah. I just, for some reason, the multi-Lich King thing seems like a bit of a leap.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just spitballing. It just suddenly occurred to me, if we've got multiple Night Warriors, why not?
I want it to be another invasion on Azeroth, though, dude. I want the art of like massive space necropolises showing up and music from Thor Ragnarok to start playing as multiple Lich Kings just descend upon Azeroth. Because it all comes back to Azeroth. Our planet is, for some reason, just the most special damn thing.
Well, it's the only unborn Titan that we know of. So that's why the Void are very interested in it. And that's why Sylvanas has been very interested in it, is because Titans...
Which is why the Titans defended it, which is why we have so many damn life forms even on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone wants to get hold of this unborn Titan because they're incredibly powerful. I mean, like, Sylvanas found one in Argus and kept it as a battery, you know, to birth demons like super fast rate and stuff like that. So, I mean, everyone wants a bit of Azeroth. It's fair enough, you know.
Everybody wants a piece of us.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Look at this scarf. Crawl to me on your knees. Yes.
All about it. It's all about it. How
Okay.
is that not a toy?
Final question of the episode. Yes or no answer. Is Anduin the final boss of Shadowlands?
No. No, there is no reality. In the actual multiverses, there's no version of this reality, Taliesin, where Anduin is the final boss.
No version of this reality. Interesting.
No.
Okay.
There's no pocket universe where that's true.
Wow. I'm glad no one watches this show or listens to this show so that you could never be proven wrong if it were to happen. We could just scoot over that and ignore it. Okay. Will Anduin be a boss in Shadowlands?
Yes.
Ooh, the intrigue.
Yes, boss. No, not final boss.
Okay. Cool. I'm inclined to believe with you, but I would even.
By the way, if he's the final boss of what we think is the final raid, and then they like give us like a Ruby Sanctum,
honestly,
I'm right.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think Anduin will be the final boss, but I'm not as like completely convinced that it couldn't happen as you are. You honestly couldn't see Anduin going bad and us beating him in a boss fight. And then, as he's laying there after the final boss fight of the expansion, the ghost of Varian coming to him in a cinematic, and Anduin being like, "Is it over?" And Varian, instead of being like Arthas's father and being like, "Yeah, give up, dude," instead of being like that, goes, "No, it's not over. You've still got a war to win for the light, for Azeroth."
And then music swells and
yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun,
Are you seriously telling me you can't see that happening? And he's like, "You're right, father." And he gets up and he's like, "Oh, fuck you, jailer."
I can, but it's the second to last boss, and then
Fair
we
enough,
charge into the fight against the jailer.
Like I'm calling it right now. That's gonna happen. That cinematic's already been made.
And it lasts for 7 seconds, which is approximately double the length of the cinematics that happened in Nyalotha, so we think it's rad.
But can you not imagine, like, tell me if we were sitting around the table in Blizzard HQ and someone said that and they're like, okay, so he's like, Varian's ghost comes to him. He's like, "Is it over?" And Varian looks down and says, "No." Pretty cool. You'd get the chills, wouldn't you? Come on, you get the chills.
I would.
Yeah.
Tell me Varian's ghost looks like a cracked glazed vase, by the way. Just
like glued back together.
Yeah, like Kintsugi. Just glued back together.
You've got a water rin, yeah.
Oh. Well, we're going to have to wait a while to see what happens with Little Lion Man.
And then we fly off on our flying mounts, which we've definitely got at that point, and Garrett's happy.
Do we? They're going to be the surprise. You need renown 175 to unlock flying.
Oh, God. Right. Well, I can't wait. I'm very excited. I hope I live till 2021. I hope I make it to see all this amazing stuff.
I hope Remornia becomes a flying mount that I can unlock.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to fly
on it very, very carefully.
Yeah, you just sit on the hilt like a witch's broom.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it attacks you upside down in the raid.
Sure.
So, by the way, one of the coolest boss effects I've ever seen.
Oh, it's wicked. I absolutely love it. I think all the Remornia stuff is just incredible. I love it so much. I love all the speech. I love, like, the dynamic that it gives the fight. Awesome. And I love it just as, like, a lore tidbit that kind of powerful people in Revendreth just have these swords that don't just float around with them, but are like their demons. From Magic Compass or something. They are like their companions and stuff, and I love that. And they have like an emotional attachment to them. Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's really
amazing.
cool.
And so has been this episode. So
my mind has been blown, Garrett. Should we finish the pre-show and start properly?
Yeah. Did you leave pre-show up the whole time?
No.
Okay.
I was just sticking with you.
Well, folks, if you would like to write in and be a part of the show when we do mailbag episodes or when we actually haven't done 2-hour episodes and can pull a question or two, you may do so at wowkillercast@gmail.com. That's where you can send your emails in. Let us know your thoughts. And please do so. We're due for one. Taliesin, are you aware of what this episode marks?
No, tell me.
1 year of WoW Killer.
No way! That's so sad. And how many episodes?
35.
That's not bad. That's more than not. That is more than not. Good work.
It's good. It's
wow,
good.
I would have thought it. Well done.
Over or under next year?
Oh, over. For sure.
Over?
Yeah, man.
Sick.
Totally. We've got a podcast. We're not growing this shit anymore. We're all like, yay, let's do our podcast.
You also have an expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not like in the death throes
in WoW.
of
It's
the
fantastic.
end of an expansion. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So congrats on a year. Cheers. And anyways, if folks are unaware somehow of the wonderful WoW content that you make outside of WoW Killer, Taliesin, where can everyone find you?
Hang on. So,
hang on.
Ramonia is a sexy voiced lady in a blade. I know another blade like that. You can find us at Taliesin and just saying. You can find us at Taliesin and Evitel on YouTube. You can find us at Taliesin and Evitel on Twitch, and you can watch this show being recorded live on that Twitch channel. And you can find us on Twitter, where we will tell you when we're recording this show live on Twitch. How about that, eh?
You should do that. Yes. Which is a show you can find on Twitter at WowKillerCast, and you should also go check out the YouTube, youtube.com/WowKiller. Go do that. For me, I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. You can find me on there, squeeing about. It's December, man. I'm so delightfully off topic. I'm modifying cars and making eggnog from scratch. That's what I'm tweeting about. It's great. It's wonderful. Everything else is at amove.tv. Go check it out. This podcast and every other one that I produce. So go see everything over there.
They're all very good. They're all very good. I like all of them. This is my favorite, obviously. But they're all very good.
Why, thank you. Thank you. And that's gonna bring us to the end of this episode. Hope you all enjoyed it. Have a happy new year, and we'll see you all very soon.
And that is the end of the show. The end of the show. No more show. That is the end of the show.